hello BookTube. I have a bunch of book-related things I want to mention today that I want to round up that, again, I didn't think would really work in separate videos. It's really not my attempt to imitate the various potpourri, hodgepodge style videos that have become so successful in the wake of the Saturday Hodge-Podge videos over at Brian's channel, Bookish, which you should all watch. They are, I mean, he's finally reached 50 Hodgepodge videos, and they're terrific, and I'm legitimately not trying to imitate those. Not only because Brian and I are well-known arch-nemesis. There is, in his latest Saturday Hodge-Podge number 50, there's a rollicking good argument brewing in the comments field. He and I regularly argue at length in the comments field. So I'd urge you all to go over there and look at it, just so you know what I am trying not to copy. Although if you go over there and you listen to the video and then look at the comments field, or maybe you're a veteran of other knockdown drag-out fights that he and I have had in his comments field, I should probably stress what I'm pretty sure that he has stressed as well, which is that Brian and I are adults who were raised in the 20th century, not the 21st century, which means that we can have a knockdown, drag-out, perfectly well-spirited argument that gets saucy and salty on both sides, that pokes fun on both sides, without the scorched earth ideological warfare that would have us both mailing boxes of live scorpions COD to each other's grandparents. That is a 21st century thing. In the 21st century, you cannot disagree with someone without committing genocide. In the 20th century, it was perfectly possible to do that. So when you go over there, you will see the fur flying. Brian has chosen yet another ridiculous point on which to plant his flag and defend some ridiculous, I swear, someday in the future, he is going to make his way to the mecca of all booktubers, the little old farmhouse up in Vermont, and when he's had a skinful of wine, I guarantee you, it won't happen on camera, of course, these things never do, but I guarantee you, on camera, he'll say, yeah, I mostly agree with you, dude. I don't know, maybe he won't, but one way or another, I'm not trying to imitate Saturday Hodge-Podge, or Britta does a similar portmanteau type thing. It's just none of these things struck me as big enough to do on their own. So this is another Bookish Day type thing, although it's got three parts to it, three main parts. Of course, you know what the first part is, right? The first part has become I've backed accidentally into a kind of channel tradition now. I'm amazed that it took me so long. A few days ago, I suggested that those of you who have Shakespeare in your personal library should send me pictures of that Shakespeare. Now, this request was not new in its own right. I have been saying for years that I would like you all to send me pictures of your libraries, just of your books. And also, I've been urging all of you for years to send me pictures of the books that you see when you go out to your used bookstores and charity shops. I want pictures just of everything. But when I made that call for sending me pictures of your Shakespeare, I also said you might want to do the decent and include your dogs as well. And there were some troublemaking Weisenheimers at first who sent pictures of, I scarcely want to mention the name of the species they sent, but it wasn't dogs. It wasn't from that side of the theological spectrum. It was from the other side of the theological spectrum. But the pictures have kept coming. And they haven't all been dogs and books. Some dogs don't want to pose with books. And naturally, I want to start with that because these are just too good. Like Puck, for instance. Look at those eyes. Look at that face. No Shakespeare in the frame, but that's okay. And we have this extremely patient person. Look at that. With I believe those are Dover Shakespeare's, the old Dover paperbacks that have the single virtue of being very affordable. And then we have someone who that is not a Dover Shakespeare, and this is someone who once again has the interesting split coloring on the head, and who obviously has no trouble with sleep that knits up the raveled sleeve of care. This dog is clearly staying awake only for the photo. Oh, and look at Daisy. Boo, zoo, boo, boo, boo. Look at that. I was told. That's a very nice Norton Shakespeare. I was told by this sender that Daisy is uncorking her best smile for me. and I can say without any criticism of her at all that we have very similar smiles. And then we have, look at that. Another benefit of these dog pictures is that I'm getting I'm also flushing out of the woodwork pretty much every Schnauzer and Schnauzer-related picture in the world, including the winner of the day. You look at this. Look at that. I want to say that this was kind of Andy Warhol posed, that the little dog was told, here, hold this daisy in your mouth. But it could easily be just adhering to this dog's facial fur. When Frida is out on her walks, for those of you who wonder what the heck I'm talking about, I have a miniature Schnauzer, and she is ungroomed. I don't send her to the clippers. I don't have her groomed at all. I myself groom her, but her hair is still, it's not skin tight. It's not carefully coiffed. And when we're out on our walks, it takes her barely a minute to have the shrubbery of an entire neighborhood adhering to her face. So there you go. Here, let's do the rundown one more time. That is your bumper crop of dogs for today. They are absolutely adorable. Look at them all. Woo. And I'm sure there are more to come. That was so much fun. It is so much fun to know what's coming in every mail. But speaking of the mail, I also have mail to open here. We've got, let's see here, 3 packages, and 2 of them are boxes. And one of the boxes is very big. So let's see what this first one is. This first one is from a publisher. Okay, it's an advance copy for for February. Who knows what the world will be like in February? I know quite a few of you. In fact, I'd be willing to bet on this channel the vast majority of you are in February of 2021 going to be living with an almost incoherent level of rage and disappointment for a very particular reason. but who knows what else will be happening? Who knows what the daily confirmed COVID case numbers will be like in February of 2021? But anyway, this is by Sarah Gailey, and it is The Echo Wife. Very nice cover design there, where the very simple illustration of the cover is echoing an echo. That was kind of nice. Let's see here. I am delighted to be writing to you regarding The Echo Wife, the upcoming novel from critically acclaimed and award-winning author Sarah Gailey. Her name most likely rings a bell. Their highly anticipated debut, Magic for Liars, appeared in various Bests of 2019 lists. Okay, is Sarah Gailey a collaboration? Why are we using a plural pronoun for a single person? Are they a collaboration? They are a single individual and a woman. Okay, so probably that's not a typo. Probably that's just 2021. Reality is what I say it is. I'm simply not going to do that. I'm sorry. I mean no disrespect to anyone, but I'm simply not going to let someone's momentary fad that they're going to forget when they're 50 cause me to warp the way I describe or think about reality. I'm just not going to do it. Let's see here. But anyway, Magic for Liars made various Best of 19 lists, as well as garnering cross-genre praise in BuzzFeed and landing on the LA Times bestseller list. And her Tor.com novella, Upright Women Wanted, was published this past February to high praise. When it comes to The Echo Wife, think Big Little Lies meets Orphan Black with a touch of The Wife Between Us, and you'll have an idea of this near-future domestic thriller. Okay. All right. I wish that I could be sure that the publicist writing this was referring to the written versions of any of those things instead of their video versions. But maybe this is a pitch for a video or for a cable series of some kind or other. Maybe it is. Maybe it's a thinly disguised. Meet renowned scientist Evelyn Caldwell. She's highly decorated for the strides she's made when it comes to genetic replicas and cloning, and has even accomplished creation of replicas. Unfortunately, all is not well at home. She's recently divorced. She's recently discovered that her husband, Nathan, has been having an affair. To make matters worse, the affair is with Evelyn's own genetically cloned duplicate. How did I not know that was coming? Okay, fantastic. After a morning that begins with a confrontation and ends with Nathan's body bleeding out on the kitchen floor, the two Caldwell wives will have to think fast before sharing everything, including a jail cell. But you couldn't do that, could you? I'll have to see what the invented world of this book says, but surely even if a clone is an identical copy of someone, only one of them actually committed murder. Surely in the world of this novel, you couldn't hold an identical clone guilty if the original committed murder, or vice versa. Oh, but now I want to know. I think I read Upright Women Wanted, and I think I really liked it. If I remember correctly, I read it and really liked it. I don't think it made any of my year-end lists, but it was still one of those books that stood out as being really smart, really well done. Okay, The Echo Wife will keep you guessing up until the final conclusion, and I can't wait to hear what you think. I hope you'll consider including The Echo Wife in your forthcoming books coverage. Well, I certainly will. I certainly will. Those of you who've been watching Open Letters Review, the online literary journal where I'm one of the editors, several of you watch there because a lot of my reviews have appeared there, even in 2020 alone. And several of you have commented in the last couple of weeks that my rate of production on Open Letters has dropped drastically. And believe me, I know. I'm very grateful that you would email me and let me know that you watch, that you pay enough attention to notice that. But yeah, it is true, and it's because of something that I've mentioned elsewhere on this channel, among a couple of other reasons. One of the reasons is that something I mentioned on this channel, which is that I've had a lot of other work as well. Deadline work for other editors rather than myself. And I always reflexively tend to prioritize that over Open Letters, where it's just me and a group of masthead editors who are friends, other booktubers that you might know, that sort of thing. I probably shouldn't do that. I should probably make time every day to write a review for Open Letters, because a lot of work went into building it, and my friend Amakai put a lot of work into our wonderful app. If you go to your favorite app store and type in the words Open Letters Review, you will find our free app, which is wonderfully designed, just wonderfully so. Since all that work went in, I really ought to be running something every day on Open Letters. I've noticed, believe me, I have not forgotten or overlooked the fact that my production there has dropped a bit. It is going to pick back up. And in 2021, this will certainly be something that I will review. This sounds fascinating. When they said all happy families are alike, I don't think this is what they meant. Okay, so this is going to be a $25 hardcover in mid-February. The Echo Wife. I wonder, it'd be interesting to see, this obviously, who is this? This is, yeah, this is Tor, and I'm very happy that Tor is sending me books. That's nice. They haven't always done that. We got Christopher Paolini yesterday, and we got The Echo Wife today. And I'm wondering, I mean, it's Tor, and they are a great publisher of science fiction and fantasy, but I'm wondering how much cross-genre appeal is going to be pumped into this thing. I'm wondering how hard the publisher are going to try to get this reviewed in non-genre venues. Sounds like the kind of thing where the science fiction is a minimal intrusion in the plot. So the potential is there. That would be great. That would certainly mean a wider audience and broader sales for Sarah Gailey. Okay. Sarah Gailey's name sounds familiar to me, though, and not for Upright Woman Wanted. I wonder why. That's just driving me crazy. Oh, of course. Oh, of course. She wrote the American Hippo books. I've praised them on this channel before. Oh, no wonder. Okay. Upright Woman Wanted, I think I did read, but she wrote the American Hippo books. River of Teeth, Taste of Marrow, and New Stories. River of Teeth is a fantastic book. It's just fantastic. I don't know if it's still in print. I don't know what it would look like. But find a copy. You're going to love it. Absolutely love it. These books are loosely called the American Hippo books for a very good reason, because hippos feature prominently in them, and you're not going to know why at first. And when you realize why in the course of the first book, you're probably going to have the same reaction that I did, which is that this basic premise cannot be made to go the distance, but it does. This is, oh, no wonder. Okay. All right. So I do know this author's writing, and she is terrific. Okay, great. Fantastic. So this is the author of American Hippo. If you haven't found and read that book, you should. And then maybe drop a line to the author saying that you're on board forever. Because boy, oh boy, that plus Upright Women Wanted is enough to put me on board forever. Great. Fantastic. All right, well, I have a treat in store for 2021. I, of course, will not be reading any 2021 books in 2020. But closer to the time, certainly. Then we have a box, and the box is heavy. So it could be a finished copy. We have two boxes. The other box is an odd shape. Almost makes me think it was sent by one of you instead of by a publisher. But let us see. let us see. What have we got? Oh, oh my. Oh my. Well, BookTube, my fellow ranks of assembled bookworms, if you have squeals, prepare to shed them now. This is from Oxford University Press. This is the Oxford Illustrated History of the Book. Quick, someone administer smelling salts to Jason Harrington and Mark Richardson. This is the Oxford Illustrated History of the Book. And it's gonna, those of you who read these sorts of things will know what you're going to encounter, because illustrated histories of the book are, to put it mildly, not uncommon in the book world. I suspect that the there's Mark's library right there. Yeah, I think that's him in the distance, telling a patron to watch it. I think the allure here will be not so much the idea as the prose. What you look for in an Oxford University Press production will be the prose, the acumen. This is edited by James Raven. What are we going to do here? In 14 original essays, the Oxford Illustrated History of the Book reveals the history of books in all their various forms, from the ancient world to the digital present. Leading international scholars offer an original and richly illustrated narrative that is global in scope. The history of the book is the history of millions of written, printed, and illustrated texts, their manufacture, distribution, and reception. Here are different types of production, from clay tablets to scrolls, from inscribed codices to printed books, pamphlets, magazines, and newspapers, from written parchments to digital texts. Oh man. And there you have a scroll and also a tablet, just inlaid there. Fantastic. Okay, fantastic. Since I only have an invoice and not a pub sheet, I don't know when this comes out, but I imagine it's soon. Fantastic. I have read so many of this kind of thing, an illustrated history of books. I've read so many examples of this, and I've reviewed a few as well. History of books, histories of libraries. In the course of time, editors are often amenable to this sort of thing. It's the kind of thing that's going to interest any reader, so they tend to say yes if you propose it at just the right time. That's fantastic. Okay, and since it's finished copy, even though I don't have the pub sheet for it, I feel certain that it's soon enough so that I can read it today. And then we have the box, and it looks like either an Amazon box or a repurposed Amazon box, which leads me to think it's from one of you. So it could be a present-y-poo. It could be a present. And naturally, I don't have my scissors nearby, but that's okay. That's okay. I have the rude bludgeons that are my fingers. So let's just tear this apart and see what we have here. Oh my, it's a box full of books. Oh my. What have we got here? What have we got here? Oh no, it's not books. Oh man. I have the best viewers anywhere on YouTube. I swear I do. I swear I do. So we have a card. Let me see who you are. Okay, I know who you are. I won't read the whole of this card because it's addressed just to me, but it starts out with, after watching you for thousands of hours, I think I know what you like. Yes, that is absolutely true, because like all the best YouTubers and all the best booktubers, the Steve you see on camera is absolutely no different from the Steve you meet in reality. That is the only way to do this. But this is the postcard. Oh my. And the box includes a trade-sized anthology of the great science fiction writer James Tiptree. Her Smoke Rose Up Forever, which is also the name of one of her stories. This is lovely. Look at that. It's from Tachyon Press. That is just fantastic. James Tiptree, for those of you who maybe don't know science fiction, master of the short story, also wrote novels, two of which I really, really like, especially Up the Walls of the World, which I really, really enjoy. But her short stories were renowned for several decades for how good they were. It was an event. If a commissioning editor got a short story from James Tiptree in the mail, because James Tiptree stories came in the mail. They came from a post office box in the Washington, D.C. area. It was a cost to stop everything and sit down and just read. Editors far and wide, experienced readers, other professional authors. If you get a Tiptree story in the mail, you just sit down and read it. And often they blow you away. Often they do. And there was a well-publicized, you can read about it online, I'm sure, there was a well-publicized brouhaha because at science fiction award ceremonies, these stories immediately started racking up awards. And at award ceremonies, several of the MCs, most of them of whom were bloated white men, institutions in the genre, started speculating on who James Tiptree could be. Does he have a science background? Does he work? All of his stuff is from the DC area? Does he work inside the Beltway? That sort of thing. And one particular poobah said, I've even heard it suggested that James Tiptree is a woman. But I think we can all agree that no woman could understand men the way men are understood in these stories. And the following year, it was widely disclosed that James Tiptree was, in fact, a petite, gray-haired woman. That story's been told many times. This is fantastic. Let's see what's in here. Probably all the great stories. One of my own favorite James Tiptree stories is a little bit odd and usually isn't in anthologies like this. What I wouldn't give for James Tiptree Library of America volume. Oh my. With Up the Walls of the World and the Brightness Falls from the Air and then all the short stories. Oh my, what I wouldn't give for that. This is The Last Flight of Dr. Ain, The Screwfy Solution, and I Woke and Found Me Here on the Cold Hills Side, The Girl Who Was Plugged In, The Man Who Walked Home, and I Have Come Upon This Place by Lost Ways, The Women Men Don't See, an absolute classic of a story, often reprinted. Your Faces, Oh My Sisters, Your Faces Filled of Light. That is my favorite story. Oh wow, and I would argue that there's not much in the way of science fiction anywhere in it. Fantastic, that is in here. Houston, Houston, Do You Read? With Delicate Mad Hands, one of the few short stories by this author that I think fails. A Momentary Taste of Being, She Who Stole the Dream, Her Smoke Grows Up Forever, Love is the Plan is Death. Tell me you can read that story and not be disturbed. Oh my. On the Last Afternoon, She Waits for All Men Born, slow music. Okay, the other James Tiptree story, another one that I'm really fond of that isn't in this collection, is her last Star Trek story, which is the final word on Star Trek yearning and Star Trek fan fiction. Boy, oh boy, fantastic. And that came in the box with this postcard. And it is certainly cause for science fiction fans out there. For instance, the aforementioned Mark Richardson, who's only just barely recovered from the Oxford Illustrated History of the Book. The smelling salts have only just barely worked on him, and now we're going to lose him again because the rest of the box is vintage science fiction magazines. And kerplunk, all the science fiction fans go right down for the count again. Oh man. Isaac Asimov's science fiction magazine. There's Asimov on the cover, pleading with an alien. This is when it was called Isaac Asimov's instead of just Asimov's. And we have a whole bunch of them. Oh man, look at the names on this. Look at the names on this. This is incredible. I don't have any of these. I've probably long since forgotten. This has Randall Garrett. Milton Rothman, good Lord, you'd need to be Mark Richardson to even remember that name. Good Lord, there's a lot of these people. Oh, man. Look at that. Oh. Here's Analog. Here we have Sam Nicholson. I don't think I've ever read any Sam Nicholson. That looks like a Vincent DeFate cover. Oh, man. Joan Vinge, Vonda McIntyre, George R.R. Martin. What's the George R.R. Martin in this Analog? I wonder. Let's see here. Call Him Moses. Okay. This is an old analog. Here's another old analog. This has Spider Robinson and Gene Robinson on there. And also, who else is in here? Spider Robinson got the cover, but he's forgotten. Spider Robinson's not in print anymore. Nobody remembers him. But Greg Benford is in here. And Kevin O'Donnell is in here, the author of The Journeys of McGill Fayen, which I absolutely love. That's also forgotten. Oh, fantastic. You know what's going to be half the fun of reading these old issues? And not only the stories, which I absolutely love, and which I badly need, because the one bookstore near me, the one retail bookstore near me that carries Analog and Asimov's, hasn't updated them. They were closed for months because of the pandemic, and now that they're open again, they're working through the backlog on everything. And they haven't put out new issues of either one of those anymore. Believe you me, I would be having Mark Richardson and his long-suffering wife go to the nearest bookstore, their Books A Million, and get me those issues up there in Vermont, where that has been lightly touched by this pandemic, except their local Books A Million doesn't have them. So they've been spared. But one of the great fun, so I need periodicals like these. These aren't just going to go for a display on a shelf. I'm going to read them. But another fun thing that's going to happen in these issues is all the science speculation, the nonfiction columns that are in here. Because these are from when? These are from a long time, 1978. Good Lord. So this is another analog. This Space for Rent by Joe Haldeman. Hunter's Moon by Poul Anderson. But what else is in here? Killing Children by Orson Scott Card. Another Spider and Gene Robinson, the continuation of the last one. And Lord St. Davis, Tom Sullivan, Michael Cohn. I don't know these people. Oh, this is so great. And then the last one this is also 1978. Just a whole run of old science fiction magazines. This one has Jack Williamson, Joan Vinge, Frank Herbert blurbed on the or promoted on the cover, but there's also an Orson Scott Card story in here. And stories by James Oberg and John Gribben, Donald Kingsbury. I don't know these people. This is going to be so much fun to read these things. Who knows? The people like that might have gone on to a huge career that I don't know about. That's less likely than that they got a couple of stories published and then life took over and they went elsewhere. And, you know, maybe they're in their 70s now and they're saying, yeah, once upon a time I had a few stories published in Analog and Asimov. Not anymore. I haven't written anything in years. Maybe that'll be true for some of these people. But anyway, that is the mail. Good Lord. Science fiction in a box. A huge amount of it for my reading pleasure. Plus, The Echo Wife. A woman and her clone commit murder. So that's the elevator pitch right there makes you interested. And the Oxford Illustrated History of the Book. And then we have the dog pictures. And then there's one other thing I wanted to mention for this sort of catch-all video here. And that is yet another podcast. Some of you will remember I did a podcast with Alex Sorondo for 1,000 Movie Project. And I left you the link to that. And some of you may also remember that I occasionally write an ex libris book-related column for Mark Richardson's library up in tiny town Vermont, the Wethersfield Proctor Library. They have very nicely given me an ex libris library column that I can write whenever the fancy strikes me. And another library contacted me, the Cedarburg Public Library in Wisconsin contacted me. The head poobah there of their internet radio, their 24-hour internet radio, Cedarburg Public Library internet radio. The words we have to use, that we have to learn in the 21st century. He contacted me and said that he would love to lift some of the audio from my BookTube videos and make them into a podcast for his library patrons on their library channel. And I did him one better, of course. That I had no problem with that, of course. But I did him one better and said, why don't I make some content for your library? It's original content that isn't a BookTube video. And we have started doing that. I think there's one episode up now, or maybe two. And I'm going to leave a link to it down below in case you want to go to the Cedarburg Public Library's podcast forum or wherever you find your podcast and swarm it with yet more Steve Bookish content. In these 2 episodes that I've done so far, I muse about a piece of book news and then I give some book reviews. Some actual spoken, but some book reviews, which is neither one of those things are things I tend to do on this channel. So it would be a little different from what you find here if that interests you. I'll leave a link down below to the one episode that I know is up. And you can just take it from there. And of course, as always, if you listen to it and you like it, you think it's good, I want you to do 2 things. First, I leave my email on every video. Feel free to let me know that you liked it. And also, second, feel free to let the Cedarburg Public Library know that you liked it. Since these things tend to happen in a void, just in total silence. We've all, in the age of the internet, which was supposed to connect us all, we've become so incredibly isolated that we don't do that anymore. Letters to the editor don't fly off at the drop of a hat anymore. Instead, people take to social media and air their grievances and their pleasures for an open forum. Instead, it belongs aimed at an editor or head librarian of some kind. So feel free to do that if you like it. But one way or another, I will leave a link down below. So that is my news. We have the mail, we have the babies, we have science fiction anthologies, and we have another podcast, which I'm hoping will happen every weekday, Monday through Friday with the weekends off. So, but we shall see how that goes. And who knows what it will transform into. My producer for this podcast actually said this to me, said, one of the ways to find out what this thing is to keep doing it. And the implication being that it will just organically evolve into what you want it to be. I'm all for it. It's a whole new adventure for me. So, and I certainly don't need any prompting to talk about books. So I'm going to wrap this up for now. I will leave everything down below, and I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.